I was reborn. The first thing I did was toss the engagement ring onto the face of my Ice Queen fiancée. Victoria, we're done. She scoffed. Leave me, and you'll be less than nothing. I couldn't be bothered with her. All I wanted was a quiet place to settle down, enjoy good food, and live my own small, comfortable life. But someone please tell me why she later came crying, begging me not to flaunt my affection for other women. Ethan Vance, are you quite finished with your tantrum? The frigid voice was like shards of poisoned ice hitting my eardrum. I looked up, facing a face of breathtaking beauty that was both familiar and strange. Victoria Sterling, my fiancée, CEO of Sterling Industries, a woman who viewed all emotion as a fatal weakness. In my previous life, for her sake, for that pathetic engagement contract, I spent 3 years playing the role of her lapdog. I hid all my true talents, pretending to be nothing more than a useless trust fund kid, all to ease her mind, to make her believe she could easily control me and everything belonging to the Vance family. The result? She and the forces behind her slowly devoured the Vance family empire. My parents died tragically, and as for me, she dismissed me with a casual, "He's no longer useful," before having me tossed into the river to feed the fish. The choking sensation of the river water flooding my lungs felt like it happened yesterday. But now I was back. I returned to 3 years ago, the day before our scheduled engagement party. Tantrum. I twisted my mouth into a sarcastic half-smile, fishing the delicate velvet box out of my tuxedo pocket. I snapped it open and casually tossed the 10-carat emerald-cut diamond ring onto the coffee table in front of her. The ring rolled across the glossy surface, making a crisp, clicking sound. Victoria Sterling, I said it once. Done. I enunciated every word clearly. My voice wasn't loud, yet it landed like a heavy hammer blow against her perpetually cold, expressionless face. Her pupils constricted sharply. Have you lost your mind? Ethan, do you realize what you're saying? The engagement party is tomorrow. Every guest has been invited. If you back out now, you want the Vances and the Sterlings to become the laughingstock of Viridian City. A trace of incredulous fury laced her voice. Laughingstock, I chuckled, leaning back into the soft upholstery of the sofa. I looked at her with an expression she had never seen before, one mixed with a touch of pity. I don't know if the Sterlings will become a joke, but from today onward, I, Ethan Vance, intend only to be the one watching the show. I am tired. I cut her off, the weariness in my tone genuine. The game of conquering the world? I'm out. Starting today, I just want to coast, grow some herbs, cook, enjoy a good whiskey, and appreciate life. Victoria looked as if she'd heard the funniest joke in the world. She scrutinized me from head to toe, the disdain and contempt in her eyes practically spilling over. Cook? Whiskey? Ethan Vance, what else are you capable of besides that? Leave Sterling Industries. What do you think your family, which has already been gutted, can offer you? You're less valuable than a stray dog on the street. That won't concern CEO Sterling. I stood up, smoothing down the lapel of a perfectly unwrinkled blazer. All right, just a reminder, the Harborfront redevelopment project? Bad feng shui. Anyone who touches it is cursed. With that, I walked toward the door without looking back. Leaving that single warning was my final act of decency toward my parents, whom she had indirectly killed in the previous timeline. Behind me, Victoria's cold, mocking laughter followed me out. She hadn't taken my words seriously, seeing them only as the impotent rage of a discarded failure. She didn't know that the moment I stepped outside that door, her world was about to face a storm unlike any she could imagine, and I intended only to watch quietly. After losing half a lifetime at the poker table of life, I finally understood one principle. Sometimes, doing nothing is the biggest win of all. I returned to the Vance estate. It was a sprawling, historic manor located in the suburbs, complete with immense gardens. In the previous life, it had been seized and auctioned off, eventually falling into Victoria's hands, who converted it into a high-end commercial event center. In this life, I would make this place my sanctuary for lying flat. The first thing I did was dismiss most of the household staff, keeping only Mr. Jenkins, the butler who had watched me grow up since childhood. Sir, what is the meaning of this? Mr. Jenkins looked bewildered at the shopping list I provided. The list contained no luxury goods or sports cars. It was filled entirely with top-of-the-line kitchen equipment, rare gourmet ingredients, and various grains and fermentation jars for brewing alcohol. Mr. Jenkins, just call me Ethan from now on, I told him, patting his shoulder. I'm opening a private kitchen here. I'm calling it the Haven. 1 table per day, strictly depending on my mood. Mr. Jenkins opened his mouth to protest, but ultimately swallowed his questions, merely sighing. His eyes were filled with the sympathy reserved for a young master who had clearly been so devastated by Miss Sterling that he had given up on life. I didn't bother to explain. Soon a call came through. The caller ID read, Adam Thorne, my most trusted lieutenant, who in my past life followed me from nothing to become a Wall Street capital giant. He was my protege, intensely loyal and supremely capable. Boss, the task you assigned has been handled. Adam's voice, over the phone, was steady and powerful. The initial strike against Sterling Industries has commenced. We estimate that within 3 days, we can wipe out 20% of their stock valuation. I gave a casual acknowledgement, my eyes focused on the few tea olive trees in the courtyard, calculating how much flower wine I could brew in the autumn. Boss, Adam seemed surprised by my lack of enthusiasm. What is the next phase of our plan? What plan? I frowned, slightly impatient. Adam, you're the CEO of Polaris Capital. Do you need to ask me about such a minor issue? Handle corporate affairs yourself. Don't bother me. I'm busy. Before he could reply, I hung up. On the other end of the line, Adam Thorne stood frozen in his top-floor office in the Apex Tower. He stared at the massive electronic screen showing the sheer drop of Sterling Industries' stock value, a devastating green line. He fell into deep thought. The boss said, Don't bother him. He's busy. Busy with what? Busy dealing with his small fry, the Sterling family? The boss is truly the boss. He must be testing me. He thinks my actions are too slow, my efficiency too low. It's an insult to his ability that I would need to consult him on an opponent of this caliber. Furthermore, the boss saying he's busy is absolutely a coded message. It means he is executing a much grander, more earth-shattering strategic move behind the scenes, and the attack on Sterling is merely an insignificant part of the master plan. Understood, boss. Adam instantly straightened his back, a fierce fire reigniting in his eyes. I will not let you down. He immediately called an emergency meeting with all his core traders. Emergency meeting. The boss has issued new directives. Increase the intensity. I don't care about the cost. I want the cash flow of Sterling Industries to be completely broken within 1 week. The group of subordinates, all hailed as financial prodigies, instantly got a shot of adrenaline. The entirety of Polaris Capital entered the highest level of combat readiness. They had no idea that their boss, at that very moment, was wearing an apron, humming a tune, and deep in the kitchen researching a long-lost classic dish of intricate French cuisine, pâté de canard en croûte. The Haven opened without a grand sign or marketing campaign. It relied solely on the wooden plaque I personally carved and placed by the courtyard gate, reading, "One sitting daily." By chance only. For the first 3 days, there wasn't a single customer. Mr. Jenkins paced worriedly, but I enjoyed the quiet peace. Lying in the rocking chair in the courtyard, sipping the plum wine I had brewed myself, watching the clouds drift by. This was life. That afternoon, I was tending to my herb garden when I heard the faint meowing of a cat near the gate. A moment later, a small, fluffy white creature squeezed through the gap in the door, darting straight toward a catnip plant at my feet, where it began rolling around in ecstatic abandon. I couldn't help but laugh. This little guy had good taste. Tuan, you can't run off. A clear, slightly panicked female voice called out. I looked up and saw a girl in a pale yellow sundress. She stood in the doorway, framed by the light, the setting sun bathing her in a soft, golden halo. Her skin was fair, her features delicate, like someone stepped out of a painting. Her eyes, especially, were as clear as a mountain stream. When she saw me, she froze momentarily, a blush rising on her fair cheeks. I'm sorry, my cat. She gestured awkwardly toward the white British short hair rolling happily at my feet. It's fine, I said, smiling and pointing at the catnip. He just found his happy place. My remark made her giggle, her eyes curving into sweet crescents. Her name was Skylar Hayes, a local food blogger. She lived nearby. Today, her cat, Tuan, had escaped, and she'd been chasing him until she stumbled upon this place. Is this a restaurant? She looked around the elegant courtyard curiously, her gaze lingering on the wooden sign. Sort of, I shrugged, the result of a chef's sudden whim. Her attention was drawn to the various herbs and vegetables I grew in the courtyard. Her eyes sparkled. Wow, you grow your own? That's perilla. And over there is rosemary. Oh my gosh, you have basil and thyme too. She crouched by the planter box like a child who had discovered hidden treasure, listing the plants knowledgeably. I could tell she genuinely understood and loved food and gardening. Not like Victoria. Victoria's life consisted only of cold numbers and business proposals. In her eyes, The value of a basil plant was far less than a report that could raise stock prices by 1%. Rumble continued. Skylar's face instantly flushed crimson. She clutched her stomach, wishing the earth would swallow her whole. I haven't eaten lunch yet because I was chasing him, she whispered in explanation. Seeing her flustered and adorable reaction, my mood unexpectedly brightened. Well, since fate brought you here, I stood up and clapped the dirt off my hands. Today's one sitting daily is yours. I cooked a meal for Skylar. 4 courses and a soup. Consommé of cabbage, intricate silk tofu, sweet and sour mandarin fish, and braised pork belly, all paired with a wild mushroom broth. When the dishes were presented, Skylar's eyes widened. As a food blogger, she had eaten countless delicacies, but she had never seen such refined cuisine. The consommé of cabbage was crystal clear. A few delicate cabbage hearts rested silently at the bottom. It looked deceptively simple, but when she spooned the broth into her mouth, an intense burst of umami flavor exploded on her palate. This is a master stock, isn't it? Made from chicken, duck, prosciutto, scallops. Simmered and clarified for at least 8 hours. She looked at me in shock. I smiled, offering no words, confirming her guess. She then picked up the intricate silk tofu. The tofu, sliced thinner than hair, dispersed in the broth like an ink wash painting. The knife skills, she murmured. Her gaze, which started with admiration, had turned into utter reverence. She ate the meal with intense concentration. She savored every dish, then looked up at me with her bright eyes, giving the most sincere compliments. You are incredible. You are the most talented chef I have ever met. This braised pork belly is perfectly rendered. It melts in your mouth. The balance of sweet and savory is exactly right. How did you do it? After the meal, I brewed her a pot of rare, aged oolong tea that I had prepared myself. We sat in the courtyard, chatting. We discussed everything from regional American cuisines to molecular gastronomy, from ingredient sourcing to temperature control. I found talking to her incredibly comfortable. Unlike Victoria, who never spoke 3 sentences without mentioning business or profit, Skylar's world was simple and beautiful, filled with a deep passion for food and life. Speaking of which, you're in such great shape. Do you work out a lot? Her topic suddenly shifted, her gaze unconsciously drawn to the outline faintly visible beneath my t-shirt. I had just come out of the kitchen, wearing only a thin black t-shirt. Sweat beaded lightly on my forehead from the heat. Yeah, it's a habit, I nodded. See, can I touch it? She asked, gathering her courage. Her cheeks flushed like ripe apples. Just once. I'm just really curious. Seeing her hesitant yet utterly hopeful expression, I couldn't help but laugh aloud. I didn't answer verbally. I simply straightened my posture slightly. Taking this as permission, she extended a slender finger and gently, tentatively, poked my abdomen. Through the thin fabric, the firm, rock-hard sensation made her gasp softly, and her face grew even redder. Wow! She let out a small exclamation, like a child who had discovered a new continent. Just then, my phone rang again. It was Adam Thorne. I answered impatiently. What is it now? Boss. Adam's voice was trembling with excitement. Success. We leveraged our positions in less than a week, creating a massive liquidity crisis for Sterling Industries. Victoria Sterling is running around frantically, begging for investment from anyone who will listen. Oh, I responded blandly, my focus on Skylar's flushed face after she'd touched my abs. Boss, the next step, shouldn't we initiate the acquisition plan? Acquisition? I frowned. Why would I acquire that dumpster fire? Look, stop bothering me. I'm having tea with a beautiful woman. I hung up the phone again. Skylar's heart skipped a beat at my mention of having tea with a beautiful woman, and she shyly lowered her head. Meanwhile, Adam Thorne on the other end of the line was once again deep in contemplation. Having tea with a beautiful woman? The boss has a woman with him, and at this critical juncture, this cannot be an ordinary woman. This must be a crucial element of the boss's plan. Is this woman the final trump card to bring down the Sterlings? Or perhaps, the boss is deliberately creating this smokescreen to confuse Victoria, letting her drop her guard before delivering the fatal blow. Brilliant. Truly brilliant. Adam felt like he had reached a new level of enlightenment. Issue the order, he commanded his assistant. I want every clue in Viridian City related to beautiful women and tea investigated. Every move the boss makes has a profound meaning. We must keep pace with his rhythm. Victoria Sterling was agitated lately, extremely agitated. Since Ethan Vance, that waste of space, broke off their engagement, Sterling Industries had been cursed. First, several large projects they were negotiating were suddenly snatched away by some mysterious entity called Polaris Capital. Then, the stock price plummeted without warning, as if an invisible hand were maliciously shorting the company. Internal morale collapsed. Several core executives were poached with double their salaries. In just 1 week, the business empire she had meticulously built was teetering on the brink of collapse. CEO Sterling, we've investigated. This Polaris Capital has a cryptic background, immense funding, and operates with brutal, unconventional aggression, the secretary reported nervously. Useless. Victoria slammed a file onto the table. After all this time, that's all you found? Her face was etched with fatigue and anxiety. Her former icy composure had been replaced by irritability and volatility. She could understand who was targeting her. Could it be Ethan Vance? The thought flashed through her mind, only to be instantly dismissed. Impossible. That useless bum who only knew how to eat and play. What ability could he possibly have beyond causing trouble for her? She'd even heard he had actually gone and opened some sort of private kitchen, utterly self-destructing and hopeless. CEO Sterling, our cash flow gap is too big, and the banks are calling in loans. The only solution is to find new investment, the secretary whispered. Investment? Who would dare invest in us right now? Victoria rubbed her temples, frustrated. There is one person, perhaps. The secretary's eyes showed a glimmer of hope. I heard that a mysterious investment titan, known only as Mr. G, has arrived in Viridian City. They say his vision is ruthless, and everything he touches turns to gold. If he agrees to help, our company will surely be resurrected. Mr. G. A spark ignited in Victoria's eyes. What are his demands? His demands are extremely strange. The secretary's expression grew awkward. Apparently, he doesn't review projects or financial statements. He only judges how well you can cook. To get an audience with him, you must satisfy his culinary standards first. Victoria was stunned. What kind of insane demand was that? An oligarch who could shake the foundations of capital markets judged investment viability based on cooking skills? This was utterly ridiculous. But she had no choice. This was her last lifeline. Spare no expense. Victoria clenched her jaw, a ferocious look in her eyes. Give me an appointment. My relationship with Skyler progressed rapidly. She came to the Haven almost every day, sometimes with her cat Twan, sometimes with a laptop, claiming she needed inspiration for her writing. But mostly, she just sat quietly in the courtyard, watching me tend the garden or work in the kitchen. Ethan, I think you can do everything, she said, propping her chin on her hand like a curious child. I know a little bit, I replied. I was currently preparing a base I just caught from the lake, my knife skills lightning fast, separating the flesh from the bone in an instant. A little bit. You could be competing for a Michelin star, she exclaimed dramatically. I smiled, not engaging. In my past life, to navigate various high-stakes business banquets with ease, I had mastered almost every skill designed to increase prestige. Haute cuisine, wine tasting, tea ceremonies, equestrianism, racing. I never imagined that the skills I learned purely for networking would now become the capital for my quiet retirement. Today, Skylar wanted something more down to earth, so I took her to a nearby, old-school farmer's market. The noisy market was bursting with human energy and life. Skylar clearly didn't frequent places like this. Everything fascinated her, and she chirped like a happy bird beside me. Excuse me, sir, how much for the ribs? I approached the butcher's counter. 35 a pound, young man. Don't recognize you. The butcher, a burly man, replied. I pointed to the best rack of ribs. I'll take that one. Can you chop it for me? Just as the butcher raised his cleaver, a slick, tattooed punk squeezed in, slamming his hand down on the ribs. I'll take this one. The butcher looked troubled. Brother, there's a first come, first served rule here. Screw your first come, first served. The punk glared, shoving the butcher aside. I want this rack today. What are you going to do about it? Skylar's face paled at his aggression, and she instinctively grabbed my sleeve. I patted her hand, reassuring her. I couldn't even be bothered to waste breath on the punk. I simply took out my phone and dialed a number. Hello, Chief Miller? It's Ethan Vance. Yes, long time no see. I'm at the East Side Farmers Market in your jurisdiction. Ran into a minor issue. Someone seems to misunderstand the concept of first come, first served.